not aware of any.
So what if you're left-handed? Do you still have to click with your right hand?
Yes.
And in this case, that's what we have here, right?
Yes.
So let's say that you click on for an image, and you want to click or take another image. How does that work? Do you have to push another button?
You have to press. I'm sorry.
Go ahead. Do you have to push another button, or just tell me how it works?
It depends on the setting you have the camera on. Some cameras will give you a setting where you could do repeated photos by pressing onto it and not letting it go. And other cameras, you have to press on it multiple times.
Okay, but do you, in terms of the focusing, is this an automatic focus? Is that how that works, or do you know?
It has a setting for automatic focus, which is what usually the camera would be on.
So if you just hold it down, you can keep taking photographs? Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
With regard to your examination of this, we talked about it being somewhat similar to a computer. Did you actually follow that kind of route for the examination of this camera, or did you do something else?
For the camera, once I had a power cord for it, I connected it via a USB connection to a white blocker that's connected to the computer, and I tried to see if I was able to obtain anything from the camera memory, and I was not able to.
So you plugged it in, you go to memory, you can't find anything, right? What was the condition of the camera? Was it the condition of the camera, or was it because items were not in there?
I was not able to find any items saved to the internal memory of the camera.
And what was the condition of the camera? We know that it had been found in a washing machine, but what was the condition of the camera?
It turned on, and I was able to use it. It was turned on. I was able to turn it on and see that it worked.
Okay. And were any parts of it broken? Or?
I believe the actual button to take the pictures was loose.
Okay. So how were you able to determine that?
It kind of moved off of it as I manipulated the camera.
And were there any other items that were off of it? For example, was there any cover in the back that was off of it, anything like that?
No, it looked exactly how it looks now.
Right. This SIM card that we have there.
Can I put down?
Yeah. Okay. With regard to that, if you put water on it, would that affect?
Sorry, please. I'm sorry. I didn't hear.
Right. If you put water on it, on the SIM card, would that affect it? In other words, its capabilities and its ability to work, or not?
It can.
How about bleach? Would that also affect it?
Yes.
In this case, were you able to look at the camera and see where this SIM card was?
Yes, I was.
Were you the person who actually removed it?
Yes.
And tell me a little bit in terms of its safeguards and protection from moisture. Why don't you tell me a little bit about where the SIM card was located?
The SIM card, well, it's not a SIM card, it's a memory stick, I'm sorry.
Memory stick?
Yeah.
What's the difference between what I've been saying and a SIM card?
It's a similar type of a storage device. The SIM card is more used for phones.
I see. And so this is a memory stick. Go ahead,
Right.
tell me.
And the memory stick, I from my recollection, had like a little cover on it, and then it was inside of the camera itself, in the area in the camera where you put the memory card in.
So my question was it protected from water and that sort of thing?
It could have been, yes.
Okay. And you have that memory stick there, correct?
Yes.
And what exhibit number is it?
215?
It's actually very small, isn't it?
Yes.
Is that a function of how much it can store, or is it just that it's small because of the camera?
I believe it's more of a function so it could be put in the camera and not take much space in the camera.
So now you have this camera, you've now plugged it in, you're about to start your analysis. What do you do next?
After I was done with the camera itself, then I went on to the actual card.
To the what?
To the memory stick media device.
And what did you do with that? I know that previously you said, well, I would normally make a mirror image and then I would use that for the analysis. Did you do that here or not?
Not exactly the same way, no.
No, why?
What happened was I connected the card to a card viewer. Viewer is basically, you could connect multiple different sizes of cards to it, and that's connected to the computer via USB.
Okay.
That also, I have a USB write blocker, which I use. That gets connected, the viewer gets connected into the USB blocker, which is connected into my forensic computer machine. When I try to bring up the card, it wouldn't come up. I checked updates on my hardware blocker to make sure I was completely updated on all the new updates. I restarted the computer, which is what we typically do in the computer world. When something doesn't work, you just restart the computer and see if it works. Tried it again, didn't work. I tried it on my other computer because I had two. I tried it in my partner's computer, didn't work. At that time, the only alternative I had to try to get an image of it was to actually stick it into, use the card reader and actually connect the card reader directly into my machine.
And were you able to get some results with regard to that?
At that point in time, it did come up and I was able to see it in the computer.
And what were you able to see? Were there items that were there for you to look at that had not been deleted? Were there items there that have been deleted, or was there a combination?
There were a combination of items that I was able to see initially that were not deleted.
So in other words, there were actual photographs on that memory stick that had not been deleted.
Yes, there were actual active files on the memory card.
But there were also images that had been deleted, right?
Yes, once I went ahead and made an image of the card, a forensic image of the card, I went ahead and used EnCase to look through the card.
I understand that, but there were some images that were deleted, correct?
Yes.
And with regard to the deletion process involving the camera, how many steps for a person to, let's talk about one image, how many steps would a person have to take in order to, you can take the camera out, to actually delete an image from that camera?
It will be a 5-step process.
Okay, explain to me why it would be 5 steps.
First step will be to press the playback button, which is located on the back of the camera above the little LCD screen that it has.
And what does that do?
When you press the playback button, it brings you to the screen on the camera where you could select, where it brings up the screen of the camera where you can see photos on it.
So when it brings up the screen, do you see 1, 2, 3? How many photos do you see, or do you just see one?
It depends on what was, sometimes it may bring up the last image that was taken.
And it may bring up other images,
Right.
correct? What if you want to delete it, not the last image, but an image before that? Do you then have to scroll back, or what do you have to do?
You can scroll back to do that, but you will have to select menu first to then select, which will be the third step, to select delete.
Okay, so we're at the first step, and the first step again.
The first step is pressing playback.
Okay, and then you see something. Then what's the next step?
The second step will be to press the menu button, which is located to the right of the LCD screen.
And why would the person need to press the menu button?
That's where you get the option to select delete.
All right, so you've now done that. And when you get the option to delete, are you deleting whole schemes of things, or are you just deleting one image in the way we're describing it here?
Once you hit the button, you select delete, then you have multiple ways of deleting.
Okay, so we're at the menu portion then, right?
Right.
Then what's the next thing that you do?
The next thing would be to select delete from the menu portion. That's step number 3.
So when you select, what are you selecting? What are you trying to get?
You select delete. Once you select delete, then the 4th step will be to determine how you want to delete.
When you say how you want to delete, what are we talking about? I thought if you just push the button, delete, it's done.
Well, there's multiple ways of deleting. You can either delete one image. You select one image to delete. You can select multiple images, or you can select an entire folder containing images.
With regard to this camera, and you said it did have deleted items, but it also had items that weren't deleted, right?
Yes.
So do you have an opinion as to whether or not there was a choice as to the individual making a choice to actually delete some and not others?
Objection, foundation, and speculation.
Sustained.
With regard to this, were all of them deleted, all the photos deleted?
No.
Were only some deleted?
Yes.
And in your process that you're talking about, is that the 4th step, that there is a choice to be made?
Yes.
Then what's the 5th step?
The 5th step will be deleting the ones that you choose to delete.
So that would be the 5th step, right?
Yes.
Go ahead, do it. How long will it take? Can you do that, or is it not powered up enough for you?
It's not powered up for me to do that, but it will, depending on how you do it, for one image, it will take the step process. I have to select it, wait for that to show up. I will have to select menu, then select on delete. Then I will have to go ahead and look at the image and whether I want to do multiple images or one image, and then I have to select delete again.
So you said that there were some deleted images, and there was also some images that were not deleted. The images that were not deleted, did you look at those?
Yes.
And generally, or not generally, but what can you remember that those images or photographs were of?
There were photographs of Mr. Alexander in the shower.
And those were not deleted?
Oh, I'm sorry.
I'm talking about the not deleted ones.
Oh, not deleted? I don't know what the images were offhand.
Okay, but you do, there were the ones that were not deleted, correct?
There were quite a few not deleted images.
And with regard to the images that were not deleted, how is it that you go about capturing those in this case? How did you go about doing that?
As far as using my forensic software,
Just how is it that they then turn out to be a picture? You're going through it and then it becomes a picture at some point, right?
right, when I look at it on my software, I select image view, and it shows me all the images. And initially, it'll show me all the images that are in there, so I start seeing all the images that were not deleted.
Okay. And with regard to the items that were deleted, were there some that involved Mr. Alexander in the shower?
Yes,
Were there also some nudes that appeared people were involved in some sort of sexual activity?
yes,
Was it a man and a woman?
yes,
And then there were also 3 others that were at the end, right?
yes.
Let's talk about the first set of photographs. Take a look at exhibits 164 through 169. Do you recognize those?
Yes,
And were those images that you recovered from the camera from the deleted space of that camera?
these are images that I recovered from the unallocated space of the camera.
Okay. When I said deleted and you said unallocated, explain to me what's the difference. Does it mean that unallocated, those are not deleted images?
No, it does not mean that, but it's a little different.
Why don't you tell me about it then?
A deleted image, in any case, is referred as to one that you can recover, fully recovering the entire directory of the file.
Okay.
With an unallocated one, and what I mean by the directory, it means in like a computer, when you're looking at a file, it'll tell you when it was created, and if it was deleted, it'll tell you when. With unallocated space, that part of the file may not be there.
In other words, the time when it was
Right.
deleted isn't there.
Right, the part of the file that contains all that information would not be with the file, and the only thing you may be able to find is the actual image, or you may find sometimes partial images or partial files.
Are you also able to find, with regard to those that are in an unallocated space, are you able to find the date and time that the images were created?
Typically you may not, but in this case, these images, when you take them with this camera, it embeds the date and time that the camera has set on it to the file itself.
And so with the photographs, at least that some of them, comes the date and time.
Yes.
And I noticed that some of them are blurry and some of them are not. What's the reason for that?
The blurry ones were thumbnails, and when you make the thumbnail bigger, it becomes blurry.
And you previously explained to us what a thumbnail was, but just so that we're clear, this grouping that you have, does it include both full photographs as well as thumbnails?
Yes, it does.
So if the camera takes a photograph, which is normal size, and it also creates a thumbnail, when is the choice made by the camera to keep the thumbnail versus the larger size photograph? How does that work?
Typically, when you take the photo, both are created by the camera.
Well, in this case, why didn't you get the one that wasn't the thumbnail?
Because these images here were all deleted previously.
And so what happens then to the larger version when they're in the deleted or unallocated space?
The deleted ones that are not the same as the thumbnail, were not found with the thumbnail, may have been overwritten by other photos that were placed on the drive. I'm sorry, on the card.
But the thumbnail ones were not.
The thumbnail was not.
So in other words, they both went to the same place, but one of them may have been covered up. Is that what you're saying?
Well, yeah, just overwritten.
Right.
So it was basically
Your term is
removed.
overwritten. Okay. We'll move for the admission of exhibits 164 through 169.
Coach?
You may. Exhibits 164 through 169 are admitted.
Sir, I'm looking at these photographs. Some of them have a date and time on there. Did the photographs, when you recover them, have the date and time on there, or is that something that was recovered as part of the process using the end case report?
The photo itself,
I'm talking about the writing on
the writing that was created with the end case.
And then the date and time also?
The date and time was what the date and time end case showed on the photograph. For your image, I'm not sure how that got on
Well,
there.
why don't you just take a look at these and tell me, for example, the date and times on there. Where did they come from is the question.
They came from the end case report, the way it's dated.
Okay, great. First of all, let's take a look at Exhibit 164 and start. What's the date and time for this one?
It's kind of difficult for me to see.
You wanna look at the photograph?
1:42:53 p.m.
And it does say something about unallocated clusters, doesn't it?
Yes.
We've been talking about unallocated space and that sort of thing. Is that the same thing, or is
Yes.
that something else?
That's the same thing.
And then it is an image of a female, correct?
Yes, it is.
Exhibit 166. That's the image of a male, correct?
Yes, it is.
What is this right here? Do you know what that is?
It looks like a bottle of personal KY, I believe, personal lubricant.
And what's the date and time on that one?
6408 at 1:44:50 p.m.
And then Exhibit 165. What's the date and time on that one?
6408 1:44 p.m.
Sir, if we then take a look at Exhibit 167, do you see this right here in the foreground? Do you know what that is?
I can't make it out.
If you then take a look at Exhibit number 166, do you have any idea what that might be? We then
That
look-
one I mentioned earlier.
Could it be that same bottle of
It
personal?
could,
Sir,
yeah.
let me. Could it be the same bottle of personal lubricant?
Objection, speculation.
This item here, what's the top? What color is that?
It's blue.
The bottom down here, what color is that?
It's lighter in color, appears to be white,
Exhibit 166, what's the color of the top?
blue,
And the body, if you will, of it?
white.
This back here is what? Do you know what that is?
I believe it's a TV.
All right. And why is this so blurry as compared to, for example, Exhibit 166?
That one's a thumbnail.
And with regard to a thumbnail, why again is it that these are blurry and the other ones are not?
Because the smaller the image is, when you try to enlarge it, it becomes blurry because of the pixelation of it. So the larger the image, the more leeway you have with making it bigger or making it smaller, and it still seems clear.
Exhibit 168. This is one that's blurry, correct?
Yes.
But do you see this item up here?
Yes.
Exhibit 166, the bottle there. What color does that appear to you to have the same sort of form as the bottle in Exhibit 166?
Yes, it does.
It says here, unallocated clusters. How come there's no date and time there?
I was not able to locate a date and time on that one.
But you used the same process for these photographs as you did for the others?
Yes.
In Exhibit 169, this one is also from,
Unallocated clusters.
and we don't know the date and time on that one.
No, I do not.
So if we're going to at least look through the timing of this, the first one in terms of time is 1:44:50 p.m., right?
Correct.
I'm sorry, we take a look at Exhibit 165. That's an earlier time of 1:44, correct?
Yes.
In Exhibit 167, the time is what?
1:47:15.
As part of examining the camera, did you also have occasion to find some other photographs of a male that is nude in the shower?
While examining the memory card, yes.
Look at Exhibits 141 through 160. You recognize them?
Yes.
Were these the items that were also part of the memory stick from this camera that we've been talking about?
Yes.
And you were the one that actually pulled them up, correct?
Yes, I was.
And the times and the date on there, they also appear on this end case report and then added to the photographs.
Yes.
And just so that we're clear, the time and date, is that something that came from a computer or is that something that came from the memory stick itself?
It was put there by the camera itself when it saved the photo to the camera, to the memory stick.
I move for the addition of Exhibit 141 to 160.
No objection.
Exhibits 141 through 160 are admitted.
take a look at 141. And what's the date and time?
6408 at 5/22/24.
Were you out at the Queensboro address as part of the investigation or not?
Yes.
Did you happen to go upstairs to look where the body was found?
Yes.
And do you happen to recognize this shower area?
Yes.
Is this the area where the body was found?
From what I was told, I wasn't there when the body was there.
Okay, how about when you were there? And was the body there when you went there, or had the body been removed?
I believe it was removed when I saw the shower.
Okay. And the time there is 5:22 and 24 seconds, right?
Yes.
Exhibit number 142. What time is it on there?
It's at 5/22/36.
By my calculation, that's 12 seconds apart, correct?
Yes.
So hence my question before in terms of the camera. If there's 12 seconds between it, is that a function of the person adjusting for the shot, or is it a function of the camera not requiring some, maybe focusing or something? Can you tell at all or not?
It would, to me, it would be more of a function of the person taking their time to take another photo.
And if a person were to take this photograph, the camera, would it, given the way the photographs are taken, would the camera have to be in the right hand or the left hand?
Naturally, you would take the photo with your right hand. That's the easiest way to do it.
And why do you say that's the easiest way to do it?
Because with the left hand, you have to reach across the other side of the camera with your hand to press the button to take the photo.
And would you then run the danger, if you will, of putting your finger in front of the...
Right, you would have to somehow reach over.
Exhibit 140. This is at
5/22/54.
And if you look at this one, this seems a lot darker, doesn't it?
Yes.
This camera, you did indicate it had an auto feature, correct?
Yes.
If one is darker and one is not, what does that indicate to you, whether or not the camera was an auto feature or not? Or does it indicate anything at all?
It may indicate that it was being messed with. I don't know.
Well, in terms of the lighting, if the lighting hadn't been changed, let's assume that, and one is darker like this than the other, what does that mean in terms of the camera and the settings on it?
The setting could have been changed.
And so somebody would have had to change the settings,
Yes.
right? Exhibit 144. This is at what time?
5/23/00.
And how many seconds later is that?
6.
Exhibit 145, what do we see there? Is the exposure, in other words, is the lighting there the same as in the previous two?
It appears to be similar.
And when was this taken?
5/23/24.
Exhibit 146. What time was this taken?
5/23/30.
How many seconds apart?
6.
How about exhibit 147? What time was it taken?
5:24:30.
And the previous one was taken what time?
5:23:30.
Exhibit 148. See that?
Yes.
I want you to compare it to Exhibit 147. In Exhibit 147, what side of the face is the person, what side of the face is being photographed?
The right side.
And in Exhibit 148, what side?
The left side.
They both appear to be getting wet, don't they?
Yes.
See that right there? And you see that right there?
Yes, I do.
The positioning of the person taking it changed, right? Taking the photograph, it appears, correct?
Objection leading.
Sustained.
If, when you were up there, you saw where the shower head was, right?
Yes.
Did the shower head position change?
No.
Did you see any other shower head that would have spouted out water or other than that one?
I just saw one shower head.
See the difference in times there. What are they? Can you tell?
I can't read it.
Bring
It's
it
kinda
in.
blurry.
And see it there?
5:24:48.
So how many seconds apart are they?
18.
Exhibit 149. Again, it's the left side of his head, correct?
Yes.
And the times on these?
5:24:52. 5:24. It's kind of blurry. I think it says 48.
All right, and if it is 48, how many second differential is that?
4.
Now, if we take a look at Exhibit 150, are you able to tell where the water is coming from?
Yes.
What part?
It's from the right side of the photo. Upper right.
Pardon?
Upper right side of the photo.
Can you tell from this how close the individual was taking this photograph, or is it such that the photograph has a zoom kind of feature that would prevent you from doing that?
The camera does have zoom, so I wouldn't know how close they were.
But it is the, what side of the face is that?
That's the left side of the face.
And the time?
5:24:56. 5:24:52.
And that's 4 seconds differential, right?
Correct.
Exhibit 151. What is this up here?
Water from the shower.
And do you have any idea what these droplets could be?
It could be from the door, shower door. It could be. It could be water that got on the camera lens itself.
Okay. How much? What's the time on this one?
5:25:00.
And the differential between that one and the previous one?
4 seconds.
Exhibit 159.
5:29:20.
Based on what you see there, can you tell whether or not the person's standing or not?
To me, he looks like he's sitting.
And the differential between that one and the previous exhibit is how much time?
4 minutes and 20 seconds.
Well, okay. Exhibit 160. What's the time on that?
5 minutes, 5:30, 30 seconds.
And the previous time was?
5:29:20.
Let's take a look at some other exhibits. Exhibit number 158. What's the time there?
It's kind of blurry on my end here.
It's, let me have you look at it.
Uh, 5:28. Oh, sorry. I may need to get glasses. 5:29:12.
Would it be 5:29:12 or something else?
I can't tell if that's an 8 or not. I may need to get myself
How
some
about
reading glasses.
5:29? Hold on. Is that 5:29:20?
5:29:20.
On the screen, and this one right here is 5:29:12, right?
Yes.
Exhibit 157 is what time?
5:28:54.
Exhibit 156 is
5:27:28.
Exhibit 155 is what time?
5:27:18.
Exhibit 154 is what?
5:27:12.
And exhibit 153 is
5:26:56.
Exhibit 160 is
5:30:30.
Did you also recover another grouping of photographs from the memory stick of that camera?
Yes, I did.
Take a look at exhibits 161, 162, and 163. You recognize those?
Yes.
The images that you also located in the unallocated portion of that memory stick.
Yes.
Move for the admission of exhibits numbers 161 to 163.
No objection.
Exhibits 161, 162, and 163 are admitted.
Take a look at exhibit 1 61. What do you see there?
It's the ceiling area and the upper wall portion of the bathroom,
What is this over here?
the door frame.
And what is this right here?
It's metal. To me, it looks like the shower area.
It looks what?
It might be the shower area. I'm not sure.
It might be
The shower.
the shower door, you mean?
Yeah.
And the times?
6408 at 5:31:14.
Versus the previous exhibit, which is exhibit number 160.
It's at 5:30:30.
It's approximately about 45 seconds apart. Is that
Yes.
right? When you obtain things or find things in this memory stick, can you tell whether or not the photograph was taken right side up with the camera right side up or the camera right upside down?
I will have to look at the image and I can determine that, yes.
So you can do that.
Yes.
And you can do that in this case, right?
Yes.
With regard to this particular, before we leave it, this area up here, well, it's a ceiling, right?
Yes.
You don't see any floor, do you know what floor trim is? Do you
Yes.
know what that is? Do you see any floor trim anywhere here or anything?
No.
Just basically see a ceiling, right?
Yes.
And was this right side up? Was the camera right side up when this picture was snapped? Or was the camera upside down?
Right side up.
Take a look at Exhibit 162. First of all, when you recovered this photograph, were you able to know or tell us whether or not the camera, when it snapped this photograph, was it right side up or was it upside down?
It was upside down
How do you know that?
because when I looked at the original image, it was upside down.
And this area down here, can you tell what that is?
That's the floor.
Speculation.
So what this is?
It's a stain. It looks like blood.
No. Is it the floor? Is it the
Floor.
ceiling?
I'm sorry. Yeah, floor.
Maybe my question was not. And if we take a look
Tile
at,
flooring. I'm sorry.
if we take a look at exhibit number 161, are we looking at a floor there or not?
Looking at the ceiling.
And you've done this issue with cameras and photographs. How many cases have you worked involving that?
Numerous cases.
When you say numerous, you've worked on one or two, or how many?
Over 100 cases dealing with different types of media.
And with regard to photographs, you've seen many photographs, I suspect.
Yes.
When I say many, how many are many to you?
Hundreds of thousands.
And with regard to those, have you been able to develop an idea, if you will, or an opinion based on that, having viewed all these hundreds of thousands of photographs, as to an opinion as to where that camera was in exhibit 162, in other words, floor or somewhere else?
It would have to be off the ground.
And would it have to be right above the ground, higher off the ground? What is your opinion?
At least 3 feet, 2 to 3 feet.
And would that be an area that's waist high?
It could be.
And the time here is 5:32:16, correct?
Correct.
And if we take a look at Exhibit 161, how much time has passed?
Almost a minute.
Actually, it'd be like a minute and 2 seconds, wouldn't it, I think?
Yes.
Then if we take a look at Exhibit 163, what is this down here?
That's the floor baseboard.
And you see a mass of some sort, right?
Yes.
And it looks like it has some reddish lines coming down, right?
Yes.
Take a look at Exhibit 162. Do you see any reddish lines there?
Yes.
And the time on this one, and I think I probably have to give this to you because it's really blurry. Take a look at it. Exhibit 163.
$531.32.
Let me just bring it up closer. Maybe.
Oh, there we go. Looks different now.
That's it. Let me just bring it in.
Okay. 533.32. Sorry.
All right. And the one before it is what?
532.16.
This one, was it right side up or upside down?
Upside down.
And where was the camera, given your expertise, when it took exhibit number 163?
On the ground.
How about with regard to exhibit 162, where was the camera when it took that photograph?
On the ground.
As part of your investigation in this case, did you also happen to examine a computer in this case?
Yes.
Where was the computer found at the crime scene that you examined?
In the office space on the first floor.
With regard to a computer, well, this computer, were you able to tell whether it was on or off at the time that it was taken by the police?
Prior to me taking it, it was what I call sleep mode.
What is sleep mode?
Basically, when you turn on your computer and it's a setting on it, after a certain amount of time that there's no activity, the monitor would basically shut off. The monitor goes dark.
And what's the purpose of that?
To save battery.
And this was in sleep mode then, right?
Yes.
And is this after a certain period of time that it goes into sleep mode?
It's a setting, yes.
And in examining this, were you able to tell when was the last time that anyone, whoever it may have been, actually did anything with it? Either viewed something, sent something, or
Yes.
when was that?
I will have to look at my report.
Go ahead and take, do you have it there and I'll mark it?
Yes.
Take a look at 347, which is your report, and find it, and then let me know once you do that so that we can continue.
It shows that the...
Well, read it to yourself.
Okay.
Okay, once you've read it, what time, date and time?
June 4th, 2008, 15:34, 49 hours, which is 3:34, 49 p.m.
All right. I may have that. Did you do anything else with regard to this laptop? It was a laptop, right?
Yes.
What else did you do with regard to it?
At the scene, I removed power from it, which is what we do when we seize it.
Right.
You remove power so there's nothing else, no other activity. I labeled it, and then I packaged it, I believe I returned the following day to take it to the evidence section and turn it into the evidence section.
One of the things that some computers have are that they are password protected. Do you know what that means?
Yes,
What does that mean?
that you need a password to gain access to the computer.
Did you need a password to get into the computer or not?
No,
How is it that you can bypass it?
because I go and look at the actual data on the drive. It's not the same as looking at what you see on your desktop.
Let me go ahead and have that back. Did you also have occasion to examine a phone, a telephone?
Yes,
And what kind of telephone was it?
Pocket PC.
And where was the telephone from?
It was also located in the office.
And with regard to that, did you happen to look at the text messages that were on there? Some of them, anyway.
Yes.
And when I said some of them, were you able to look at all of them?
No.
And were you able to extract, when you conducted your examination, were you able to extract the text messages from that cell phone?
No.
Why not?
There was no technology at the time that could extract it.
And when we say extract, what do we mean?
Remove it, pull it out.
And put it in a form that we could look at it,
Yes.
like a piece of paper?
Either a file or you could print it out to a piece of paper, yes.
And that was not available at the time, though, right?
No.
But it has since become available, hasn't it?
Yes, that's my understanding.
I don't have any more questions. Thank you.
Cross-examination.
Good afternoon, Detective.
Good afternoon.
Let me just get set up.
Sure.
All right, I want to talk to you first about the camera that you examined, okay?
Yes.
All right. And that camera, when you first got it, you saw that it was in the washer, right?
Yes.
And when you saw that it was in the washer, the camera was all in one piece?
Yes.
In other words, the memory stick was inside the camera.
Yes, it was.
It had not been taken out prior to you or someone else taking it out.
Yes.
And the camera, after you had to buy a plug for it or a power source, right?
Yes.
And once you did that, the camera functioned properly?
As far as it turned on, yes.
Okay, you didn't have any other issues with the camera working?
No.
And in fact, the camera, you just showed it to us today, it's not crushed in any way, right?
No.
It doesn't appear that it was stepped on or kicked?
I
Kicked to
couldn't
ruin
tell
it?
if it was kicked, no.
I'm sorry, kicked to ruin it, in other words. It doesn't appear to be
It doesn't
crushed.
appear to be ruined, no.
Okay. And it doesn't appear that there's nothing actually broken on it, is there?
Other than the button you press to take photos that is missing on it right now.
I'm sorry.
It's missing. The button to take photos is not on it.
It wasn't like that when you examined it, though, right?
When I examined it, it fell off the camera. As I was handling the camera, that button that goes on there fell off, and I put it with the camera.
All right. And that button sits on the top of the camera, doesn't it?
It's like a rubber button, yes.
Okay. And so if the camera is sitting upside down, as you suggest in those pictures, those last two pictures taken on the floor,
Yes,
that button would be hitting the ground, wouldn't it?
yes.
All right. And the memory stick, there was a memory stick inside the camera.
Yes.
And when you got the camera, it wasn't wet, was it?
I could not tell if I was wearing gloves.
Okay, well, you didn't note anything in your report that it was wet, right?
No.
All right, and same with the memory stick. That didn't appear to be wet either.
Like I said, I don't know if it was wet or not because I couldn't touch it hand to hand. I touched it with the gloves on, so if it was moist, I couldn't tell.
Okay, but you looked at it, right?
I didn't see water on it, no.
All right, and you didn't note anything in your report about it being wet?
No.
Didn't smell like bleach, did it?
I can't recall.
Okay, well, if it smelled weird like that, if it smelled like bleach, you would have noted that in your report, right?
I'm not sure.
Really? If it was something unusual about the camera, you don't think you would have noticed
I don't
that?
want to be, I don't want to be mean, but there was other smells in that location at the time. I don't think I could smell bleach.
Okay. Well, let's talk about when you didn't actually do your forensic review in the house, right?
No.
Okay. So at some point later when you're doing your forensic review, you never noticed any funny smell like bleach coming from the camera?
No, not at that time, no.
All right. And the memory stick, that also didn't appear to be crushed in any way?
No.
Didn't look like somebody smashed it or anything?
No.
Tried to break it? It wasn't bent?
No.
All right, the pictures, I want to talk to you a little bit about the pictures that we
Yes.
just looked at of Mr. Alexander in the shower. Okay?
Yes.
All right. These pictures, it appears, let's see. And I think you noted it in your report, too. The pictures begin of Mr. Alexander in the shower at 5:22:24.
Yes.
All right. And that's 5:22 in the afternoon
Yes.
on June 4th.
That's correct.
And in this time period of 5:22 up till 5:30, there's many pictures taken of Mr. Alexander in the shower, right?
Correct.
And some of his poses are in different places, aren't they? I mean, in different positions?
Different positions, yes.
Okay. In other words, he's able to turn one way and then turn another?
Yes.
And on these pictures, it doesn't appear that he's injured in any way, right?
No.
And at least in the beginning of these pictures, it doesn't appear that he's involved in any altercation, right?
No.
And I know that we can see in some of the pictures, you can see the right side of his face,
Yes.
right? And then in other pictures, you can see the left side of his face.
Yes.
And that's because he turned around, right?
Yes.
And I'm showing you exhibit number 148. Oops. All right, this is exhibit 148 where we see the left side of Mr. Alexander's face.
Yes.
And you can see the water running off the back of his head. Is that right?
Yes.
And that would be consistent with the faucet being behind him.
Yes.
All right, and then also, there were other pictures taken, what appear to be taken on that day on June 4th, right?
Yes.
There's pictures taken earlier in the day.
Correct.
And those are those pictures that we saw of Mr. Alexander and some of Ms. Arias. The nude photos.
Yes.
And those, only some of those were time-stamped, right?
From what I recall, yes.
Okay. Well, when I say time-stamped, I mean only you were able to get information from the forensic program you used to get those pictures, right?
Right, from the data that the camera embedded in the file.
Right. So in other words, the information that's on those pictures, the red writing, that actually comes from your forensic program.
Not the red writing itself, the information does.
Oh. Did you put the red writing on it?
No.
Somebody else did then?
I don't know. I didn't put red writing on it, no.
All right. Do you disagree that that's the time
No.
of those pictures?
That's the accurate time.
Okay. Those pictures, okay, so those pictures, we saw them, and I don't think we need to see them again, but obviously there's a picture of Mr. Alexander, right? You can see his face in one of those pictures, do you
Yes.
remember? And obviously there's a picture of Miss Arias in those pictures, right?
Correct.
In at least one of those photos, you can see her face.
Correct.
And so anyone, and in those pictures,
Yes.
all right, then we get to the pictures. Showing you exhibit number 159. Okay. And I believe you testified on direct that it appeared that Mr. Alexander was seated in this picture.
Yes.
And you can tell that because his arms are out like this?
By the positioning of him, it appears that he's sitting, yes.
Okay. Well, it looks really similar to the position in exhibit number 160, doesn't it, with his arms out?
Correct.
Okay. And 160 is just as though the camera just didn't mean to take it. It's obviously not of his face, right?
Just speculation as to whether the camera might take it.
Sustained.
The picture's not of Mr. Alexander's face.
Correct.
All right, and then in exhibit, actually, let's look at that one more time. In exhibit 160, that time is 5:30 and 30 seconds.
Correct.
And then at the next picture in the order, ooh, that's hard to see. Can you see the time on that?
Yes, 5:31:14.
Okay, 5:31:14. That's the next picture photo taken, right?
Correct.
And I believe you testified on direct that you believe in your expert opinion that photo is taken about 2 to 3 feet off the ground.
Yes, based on the angle that you see.
Okay, and that's based on your experience in dealing with media type of cases, right?
Yes.
Okay, and it's blurry, isn't it?
Correct.
It appears, because of the blurry and because it's not focused on anything, it appears to be an unintentional picture. Wouldn't you agree?
Yes.
All right, and then just over a minute later, at 5:32:16, we're looking at exhibit number 162. And this is the picture where you can see what would appear to be blood or some type of a substance coming down the right-hand side of Mr. Alexander, right?
Yes.
And in your report, you said it even appears that he was deceased in this photo.
Yes.
And this is just a minute, or this is just a little over a minute, isn't it, after the unintentional photo of the ceiling?
Based on what I can't recall the exact time, so
here.
I would have to take your word that it is over a minute.
Here, I just want to make sure you know. That
Yes.
one, the ceiling is 5:31:14?
Correct.
Okay. And then the next picture is 5:32:16.
A minute and 2 seconds, yes.
Okay, I did the math, right?
Okay.
Okay, just checking because, you know. All right. And when we see the picture of Mr. Alexander on the floor, the one at 5:32, which is exhibit number 162,
Yes.
you believe in your expert opinion that the camera is on the floor at that time.
Yes.
And not only is it on the floor, but it's flipped upside down.
Yes.
So if someone even wanted to, they certainly couldn't reach the button to take a photo, right?
No.
Because the button's on the ground.
Yeah, it will have to be yes.
Okay. And same thing with the next photo in sequence, which is another picture of the hallway, exhibit number 163, taken at 5:33:32. that also is where the camera is upside down.
Yes.
And again, if the camera's upside down, then that means that the button to take the photo is on the ground.
Yes.
All right, you talked just briefly about this Pocket PC, which is a phone.
Yes.
And you were able to look at it, right?
Yes.
And you were able to power it on?
Yes.
And so because you were able to power it on, you were able to look and see if there were text messages and other things on that phone.
Yes.
But you said that you weren't able to extract anything off the phone.
Correct.
And when you say extract, that's a forensic word, right? More or less?
Yes.
So in other words, you couldn't plug it into anything to download what was on the phone onto something else.
Correct.
All right. But you could have taken pictures of what was on the phone, right?
It depends.
Well, I mean, if you had a camera, which I'm sure Mesa Police Department does, you could have snapped photos of each text message if you wanted to, right?
My recollection, there were over 15,000 text messages on that phone.
So that's quite a few.
Yeah, not quite a few, plenty.
Okay. So, but there was nothing stopping you from reviewing that and taking pictures of the text messages.
If I had 8 months to do just that, maybe.
Okay. But physically it's possible, isn't it?
Yeah, if I was given 8 months to do it, yes.
Okay. All right. And then you also looked at a laptop, right?
Yes.
And this was a laptop, when you walked onto the scene, this was the laptop that was in the den.
I was told that was his office, and it was a desk. It looked like an office to me.
Okay.
Yes.
So this office, this was right off the garage entryways, wasn't it?
Yes, yes.
And do you remember that next to the office across the hallway was a bathroom?
I don't recall the bathroom. I'm not sure the door was closed, and I just didn't see it.
Okay. But this office was on the first floor, right?
Yes.
And when you walked into the office, this laptop was plugged in? It had a power source?
It did have a power source, yes.
All right. And when we talk about power source, that means it was plugged in, right?
Yes.
And then you were able to do a forensic examination of this particular laptop?
Yes.
And when, just so we're specific, this is the laptop. Based on some of the information you found, you believed it belonged to Mr. Alexander, right?
Correct.
And it's a compact Procedural?
Yes.
Okay. One of the things that you have noted in your report, you say product ID and it said virus alert. What does that mean to you?
Product ID is just the ID number for, and I have to look at my report to tell you, but.
Oh, I think I have it up here. Judge, may I approach?
Yes.
It's just at the top of that page.
Yeah, I don't know what that stands for itself. Usually, a product ID would be the ID number of the operating system.
So if it says virus alert there, does that mean that there was a virus going on?
It could be that that's just what was written in there. I don't know.
Okay. Did you do any further investigation about it?
I did not see any signs of viruses on the computer, no.
Okay. But I mean, you didn't investigate any further as to what that meant, product ID, virus alert.
By looking at the computer and checking for viruses, which I did not see any.
Okay. Now, the laptop, let's see. Along with the laptop, there was also a bunch of CDs that were taken, too, from the den.
From his office, yes.
Yes, from the office.
Okay.
And you eventually looked at those CDs as well?
Yes.
And based on your examination, and I'm looking at the middle of the page on your report there, the same page that we just looked at.
Okay.
You said based on your examination, the last
Hearsay, improper impeachment, because he didn't ask the question about the hearing.
Counsel approach, please. May proceed.
All right, Detective, based on your examination, the last activity on that particular laptop was on June 4th, 2008 at about 16:54 in the afternoon, well, 16:54.
Yes.
Okay. And 16:54 is military time for...
4:54.
4:54, right?
Yes.
All right. So at about 4:54 in the afternoon, that's the last time that that laptop was accessed?
Last time I saw any signs of activity on it as far as being used.
Okay. So any sign of activity as far as being used, that can be using it to view CDs?
Using it to go on the internet. Based on looking at it, I could see that there was activity that someone had to initiate.
Okay. So you could tell that, so you know, in your expertise, in your expert opinion, you know that this laptop was last accessed at almost close to 5 p.m. on June 4th?
Yes.
Okay. And based on the timing of the photos, that would be about 20, 25 minutes prior to the photos beginning, right? The shower photos.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Just a minute, please. You talked a little bit about the photos, some of the photos that you recovered, that they had been deleted. They were actually deleted.
Yes.
But you don't have any knowledge about when they were deleted.
No.
And some of the photos... Hold on one sec. The photos that were taken in the afternoon, the nude photos,
Yes.
those appeared to be taken by a person, right?
Yes.
And based on the timing, there's no reason to believe that they were auto-timed photos, preset photos.
I couldn't tell, but it doesn't appear to be, no.
Okay. And from the angles of the photos, it certainly appears that they were taken by someone else.
Yes.
All right. Thank you. Nothing further.
Thank you.
Redirect.
Sir, one of the things that you were asked about was the photograph involving Mr. Alexander and when he was sitting down. Do you remember that one?
Yes.
In fact, it's the last in the series of the photographs of him in the shower, right?
Yes.
Let's take it out. That would be exhibit number 160, right?
Yes.
What's the time on that?
5:30:30.
And then we have another photograph, which is exhibit 161. This is the one that you told us was of the ceiling, right?
Yes.
And the time on that is what?
5:31:14.
So how much time difference is there between that?
A little bit more than a minute.
How about a minute?
Oh, well, less, yeah.
Pardon?
About 45 seconds or so.
During that time, during those 45 seconds, do you know what was happening?
No.
And let me just look at the camera.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll just with regard to this particular camera, and you said that it was 45 seconds, right?
Yes.
Did that take 45 seconds, sir?
Judge, I'm going to object. That's evidence that was just dropped on the floor.
Okay, we're going to take the afternoon recess at this time. Ladies and gentlemen, please be back in the designated area at 10 minutes after 3, and we will start promptly at that time. Please be seated. The record will show the jury has left the courtroom. All right, your objection.
Judge, one, first of all, it's evidence, and it shouldn't be ruined after it's already admitted into evidence and being taken the chance of being broken. Two, it's an improper demonstration. He's testifying instead of actually asking a question.
Mr. Martinez.
Don't think that there's any legal precedent that defense counsel has cited for you for the demonstration where something is dropped, because if there were, there would be many instances where people would be sanctioned when items were dropped, whether inadvertently or intentionally on the ground. I would note that in this particular case, there's carpet there. It was dropped from approximately 1 to 2 feet. So there is nothing improper about a camera that has been made available to the defense for testing, that has been tested by the state, and there are no more tests to be conducted. So I don't see any legal reason that counsel has cited indicating that it is improper for the prosecutor to drop the camera as he did.
Judge, the legal reasoning is it's improper for a prosecutor on direct examination to be testifying rather than asking a question. And so when he's dropping the camera, he's trying to demonstrate something, I'm not sure which, but it's testifying rather than asking the detective a question like how long it would take to fall. Furthermore, the fact that testing has been done on this camera doesn't make it any better for him to ruin evidence after it's already been admitted. We all know that we can't even draw on evidence, draw on a diagram after it's been admitted, much less break it. And at this point, if there's anything broken on this camera, and now the jury could possibly contribute it to the fact that, well, maybe it was like that at the scene. So I would ask the court to admonish the state to not ruin any evidence that has already been admitted.
All right, your objection is noted for the record. The answer of the witness will stand, Mr. Martinez, and all counsel, if you intend to use evidence for demonstrative purposes in the future, please approach the bench first so that if there are any objections, they can be made on the record before you use the evidence in that manner. All right, we're going to take a recess.
Your Honor, we would like to make a record on the mistrial motion for prosecutorial misconduct. Do you want to do that after the break or now?
Let's do it now.
Your Honor, and I do not have the exact date, but in prior pleadings, when Ms. Arias had requested copies of the text messages, the state had constant refrain in these things was that we were asking for things that didn't exist. In previous testimony, Detective Melendez was on the stand. He was asked if he looked through these messages.
Mr. Nermi, before you proceed, I'm going to ask the witness to please step down and out of the courtroom while argument is occurring. Please return in approximately 10 minutes. Witness has left the courtroom. You may proceed.
Thank you, Your Honor. Apart from, again, the state's assertions in their motion that these didn't exist and the resistance of providing these in discovery, and this has been going on for over a year now, Detective Melendez on June 18th, 2010, we were in front of Judge Duncan. He was asked, related to text messages and emails, did you look through everything that came up? Is that correct? Yes. But you did not make note of specific content, nor did you print out of any content. He says, is that correct? Either emails or text messages. He says either. He says no. But then again, in the prior testimony in January, he had talked about going through every single email. Here, during the course of this trial, he says he didn't have time to go everything. That would take 8 months. So clearly now the testimony has changed. Based on what Detective Melendez has told us, these text messages existed in 2008 when he first retrieved the phone. That is in direct contrast to the state's prior pleadings and his testimony today regarding what he did with the text messages is in direct contrast with what he said before. Of most prominence to this situation, of course, is what the state has done in terms of asserting that these messages didn't exist in face of Ms. Arias' continued discovery request. And what I would say to you now is, having heard the detective's sworn testimony at trial, that we have deceit on the state's part regarding to the existence of these text messages when they were inquired about back in 2009 and 2010, which motivated these hearings in front of Judge Duncan. And, Your Honor, we have put forth motions of prosecutorial misconduct in front of Judge Duncan. At that time, we have renewed it again now, or excuse me, prior to now, previously in written motions, and I would renew that again. And I think what I would remind the court is, and I can't cite the exact case at this point in time, but one of the things we look for is the cumulative effect of the misconduct. And the misconduct in this case is growing, warranting a mistrial.
Mr. Martinez.
The court must keep in mind that this issue has already been litigated. Not only has it been litigated, it has been litigated ad nauseum before Judge Duncan. And at some point, there has to be a duty of candor that the court has to take notice of on behalf of the defense counsel. Why didn't he cite you? If he's going to make this motion and accuse somebody of deceit, why doesn't he cite you to the transcript of Detective Melendez? I don't know who he's talking about when he talks about Detective Flores. This issue involves Detective Melendez. Perhaps all Hispanics, their names sound alike to him. But the bottom line, I'm not done yet. With regard to this issue, there is a duty of candor. And the duty of candor applies to both sides. This issue was litigated over and over and over again without reference to the transcript. At that time, Detective Melendez indicated that he couldn't get these text messages. He could look at them, but he couldn't get them in the sense that he couldn't extract them so that he could print them out and give them to somebody. That's what he testified to. He also testified that he looked at some of them, but if they wanted him to take photographs, that it would take him too long for him to do that. Subsequent to that, and what is going to be shown on redirect, is that technology was developed. After the technology was developed, there was 896 pages of text messages that were obtained. There was approximately between 25 and 30 text messages per page. I don't know if that equals 20 or 30,000 text messages, but it would have been impossible for him to sit there and take a photograph of each text message unless he had months and months to do it, and they were not going to do that. So the bottom line for the state is these motions for reconsideration, where they're highly inflammatory without anything to be backing them up, at some point require a measure from the prosecutor to say other than what he has only said up to this point, is let the record speak for itself. The record speaks for itself, and the record speaks for itself, and if there's any deceit, it involves the duty of candor of counsel. Thank you.
Mr. Martinez, I want to make sure I understand what you just said. When the technology became available, these text messages were retrieved from the phone and made available to defense counsel. Is that correct?
That's true, and that was approximately 2 years ago.
All right. Mr. Nurmi.
What happened in the pleadings, we talk about duty of candor, what happened in the pleadings, and I might add inflammatory comments regarding from the prosecutor to the defense counsel are totally inappropriate and demonstrative of the continued prosecutorial misconduct that we're experiencing in this case. What the state said, not that there was no technology or anything else, what they said in pleadings, and he's right, I don't have the exact pleading right now, but that they didn't exist. We kept asking for them in motion. He said that they did not exist. That was the response from the state. Seems to be the constant refrain to all this. There was nothing about technology or updates or what have you. As a matter of fact, and I will refer the court back to the testimony in regard to weighting this issue, on January 10th of 2010 and April 20th of 2010, because this was subject of much litigation, and the court can go back to the records of those proceedings in front of Judge Duncan. And what we will see is Detective Melendez did testify to something different now than what he testified to back then. Then he testified to, I looked at a few, I didn't photograph any, there weren't any on there, and I just gave it back to Detective Flores. I didn't take any photographs. He did not talk about seeing all these messages, because back then that would have motivated inquiry as to why they weren't handed over. And what we have now that we're in trial, the story changes. And again, Judge, when we talk about candor, we've had demonstration throughout the course of this trial that what was supposedly true to the state when they were asserting a denial of discovery motions in 2010 has now changed in 2013 when we get to trial. And there is a candor problem called prosecutorial misconduct. It is cumulative, and it does warrant a mistrial in this case.
Mr. Nermi, have you had these text messages for 2 years, or approximately 2 years?
Yes, well, I can't say it was subject to litigation in 2010. I don't know when we got them in 2010. We do have them, but that's not the point. The point is the fact that we're hearing testimony now that they were available in 2008, and in 2010, when this litigation was going on, the state denied their existence. That's the point. They were eventually forced through Judge Duncan's order, and through this extensive litigation, they were eventually ordered to turn those over. But prior to that, they claimed that they did not exist. What we heard today was that they did, in fact, exist in 2008 when Detective Melendez did his report.
And what prejudice did your client suffer as a result?
Judge, the prejudice to my client, obviously we have Brady violations, Your Honor. We have Brady violations to which I don't, and obviously I haven't had time to brief this issue. I don't know that prejudice is required under a Brady violation when there is direct hiding of exculpatory evidence. Because we will see later these text messages, and we put it in pleadings, that there are text messages of a sexually graphic nature that are exculpatory that demonstrate the abusive nature of the relationship. This caused, I might add, a great deal of delay in this trial because it took months of litigation for the state to turn over what they already had. This is why part of the reason why we're doing this trial in 2013 instead of 2010, because we had to litigate it, and once we did, then our experts were confronted with thousands of text messages. There was probably more than 800 pages. I can't speak to that directly, but there were thousands of text messages, emails. I have notebooks full of them, all that needed to be covered because the state back in 2008 did not come forward and provide these to Ms. Arias.
All right. Well, I obviously did not preside over the evidentiary hearing in 2010, so I will need to go back and look at Judge Duncan's ruling and the pleadings related to that evidentiary hearing. I will give you an opportunity to provide additional support for your motion in the form of transcripts or anything else that you would like the court to review. Same with the state if there's anything else. So I will take your motion for mistrial under advisement, and once I have had an opportunity to look at these materials, I will rule. We're going to take the recess.